I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, good morning, everybody. And how are we this morning? Yay! I'm certainly glad to be here this morning and to share with you some information about Cypress essential oil today. And I'm gonna, let's see, oh, there we go. I'm learning something new tricks today, so I'm gonna mute all. Okay. Okay. So I want to talk about Cypress because this month, Cypress was a free essential oil to us for those of us that are members of doTERRA and we participate in the Loyalty Rewards program. So it's nice to have something for free, right? Because all of us are always ordering something, especially we have lots of great supplements. And so this is just a really great way for doTERRA to thank us for being a loyal customer. I think it's awesome. So this is my continuing education that happens every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I always think about the things, what do I talk about? And because things will happen during the course of the week and it's like, oh yeah, I should talk about that, right? And so this month this week I wanted to talk about Cypress and all the benefits that we can get from Cypress and really what it does for us, because it's an oil that we really don't talk about much. Most people are familiar with lemon and peppermint and lavender, you know, all the basics, right? But what about the oddballs? And Cypress is kind of one of those oddball oils. And it's a tree oil, obviously. And it's wonderful for many different things. Now, the aroma of it is it's a very light, subtle, kind of a evergreen fragrance to it. And so for me, it's a really nice fragrance. I like the fragrance, but there's some people out there that don't like that kind of thing. It's kind of like smelling a tree, right? And you may not like the fragrance of that. Now, so for those of you that really don't know much about essential oils can be used 3 different ways. We can use them aromatically, which is the best way, or one of the fastest way. You take the lid off and smell it, okay? So if you have anxiety, or if you're trying to change your mood, or you're just want to kind of relax the body, and that's a great way to use your essential oils is aromatically, because that is the fastest response. Well, I always use the description of whenever you walk in somewhere, it doesn't matter where you go, but if you smell something you like, you're asking what that smell is, right? And it creates a mood. It usually, if you like the smell, it creates a mood of positivity, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, what is that? You just can't figure out what it is, and you're asking what it is. But if it's something you don't like the fragrance of, oh my gosh, you're like probably walking out the door, right? Till this doesn't smell good, or you're asking, oh my gosh, what's that? There's that awful aroma. And when you find out, you're like, oh, well, I'm never going to use that, right? And so that's what aromatic does for us. It creates or brings back emotions to a time period in our life, okay, whether that's positive or negative. And that's with any essential oil. It will bring back either an emotional tie to somewhere in your past, whether positive or negative. And that's super interesting because our cells have memory, and it will trigger that memory system. So that's a really, really neat thing. So that's more of the science part of what essential oils can do for us. That's why essential oils, when it comes to aromatic, are super good for those people that are experiencing some really bad emotions, like maybe they're grieving, maybe their post-traumatic stress syndrome, or whatever that is. Aromatically speaking, essential oils can help them because you find the ones that work best for them to help them get out of that dark cloud, right? So that every time they smell the oil they love, then it brings them back to that positive emotion and not the negative emotion. And so eventually what you're doing is you're retraining your brain, is what you're doing with that. So that's aromatically. Very, very powerful. Then there's topical. So if I hurt somewhere, I'm going to use essential oils on the place of concern, or I'm going to put it behind my ears. Let's say I have vertigo, put it behind my ears. If I have a headache, I'm going to put it on my temples. If I really don't know what, I'll put it behind my neck because that's the best place to put it. Or you put it on the bottom of your feet. Now there's plenty of other places to put your essential oils. Don't ever worry about whether or not it's going to get to where it needs to go, because whether you put it on your feet, back of your neck, wherever it goes, it's going to enter the bloodstream within 30 seconds. The same with aromatic, 30 seconds. It's like, oh, that's amazing in itself. 30 seconds that your body responds to an essential oil. Then within 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, every single cell in your body has been benefited from an essential oil. And that itself is amazingly grateful for me, because I don't have to wait to take a pill of some sort and hope that it works. I usually know within 30 seconds if something's going to work for me. Now, it might not be that way with you. And a lot of times when we do certain things, it takes somebody else to notice something different. A lot of times we don't notice it ourselves until someone points it out. So, and then that happened to me when my husband used to snore like crazy at night. And then we decided to start doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality supplements. And it was, somebody else said something one day, and I went, wait, speaking of that, I had to really think about that. It's like, oh, I need to pay attention to my husband because I don't think he's snoring anymore, because I don't remember him snoring. And he wasn't. I was like, all we did was change our nutrition. And it was like, wow. Plus there's a lot of other things that happened too, but that was the number one where someone pointed it out about their husband. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Wow. You know, so it's important to have nutrition, right? But in this case, it was like, well, it stopped his sleep apnea and all his snoring. And I'm like, I used to constantly push him, nudge him, tell him to go get a sleep study, because I'm from the dental world. And it was like, no, you need to go get a sleep study. And for years I said that. And then all of a sudden, like, well, I guess you don't need to go do that anymore because you're not doing that. So the benefits can sometimes really surprise you. Now, the third way of using essential oils is internally. So when we use them internally, you are the one that have to decide whether or not you want them to go through your digestive system. That's the main benefit of going through your digestive system. Takes a little bit longer. If you are putting it in a capsule and swallowing it in an empty capsule and swallowing it that way, it'll take a little bit longer to get into the systems because it's in a capsule, right? And it has to go through the digestive system. You can take it directly from the bottle and put it directly underneath the tongue, right behind the front teeth, the lower front teeth. That's sublingually, and it gets into the bloodstream super fast, okay? Now, how do you know from doTERRA whether or not you can take these essential oils internally? Well, first off, since we're speaking of Cypress is not one of those, but doTERRA will actually have a supplement back on the bottle, and it says that you can dilute 1 drop in 4 fluid ounce of liquid, and that's your choice of liquid, whether it's water, milk, juice, smoothies, whatever it is you want to put it in. But always make sure you read the label. Now, doTERRA and every other essential oil out there are not created equal. So doTERRA has what they call certified pure therapeutic grade, meaning that there's a lot of essential oil companies out there, and they are springing up one after another. I mean, it's amazing how many new companies have been started using essential oils because they want in on that cash cow. But what doTERRA has done is totally different, because they are ensuring that we get a quality product every single time we use it. That's the biggest difference between everybody else that's on the shelf out there. And it's not so much where they get their oils from, it is the testing behind the oils, because the testing is what makes the biggest difference. And doTERRA actually has a number of different tests that they use, and it's very, very accurate. I mean, extremely accurate. And then there is called ARP, which is another testing that doTERRA does that nobody else does, and it's extremely accurate. And and so you really have to, buyer really has to beware of when you go out there and you purchase essential oils, because they will all say that the oil is 100% pure. But really, what does that mean? Where did it come from? How did they, what's the distillation process? Was it chemically extracted? Or are they putting one kind of essential oil in the bottle and calling it that? And it really is something else, because they look similar on a graft. So you really have to make sure you go to a source that's trusted. So it's the person if you're going to just on the shelf products, please be aware of those products. Always trust the source that you're getting them from. Not saying that there's some good oils out there. That's not what I'm saying. But if you want to use essential oils as medicine, okay, as your medicine or part of your tool belt, then you will definitely want to make sure that you get the right essential oils in your in your home. And doTERRA is the largest essential oil company, and they did that within 5 years of being open. There's a reason why. Not only do they have the integrity of the product, but they're servicing communities around the globe through co-impact sourcing. So I get a good product for my wellness, but I also get to help someone somewhere, whether that's for schools, whether that's for your just jobs and livelihood, clean water, whatever that is. There's a lot of things that go behind that. So it's called co-impact sourcing, and you can look that up. So those are the 3 ways we use it: aromatically, topically, and internally. And so let's talk about Cypress. So Cypress was one of those oils, and this is Cypress. If I don't follow, okay. So this is the Cypress, okay? This is doTERRA's. And there's only one blend from doTERRA with Cypress in it, and that is called Aroma Touch. And we'll talk about that a little bit here. But Cypress in itself is really good for circulation. But let's look at some of the chemical components of Cypress first. So Cypress in itself, so every essential oil out there has a specific signature. Like we all have separate fingerprints, we're not all the same. So even though essential oils technically all do the same thing, there are some that have a higher components or constituents within that essential oil. And all of us have a different chemistry makeup. So if you're a woman, if you've ever been to the perfume counter and you smell a perfume and you're like, oh my gosh, that perfume smells so great, right? Then you put it on you and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it stinks, right? Because it reacted to the chemical in your body. But then you smell one that's not so good, but you put it on you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's incredible, right? So that is what it does. They react with our body's chemistry. So the biggest number one chemical or compound that Cypress has is monoterpenes, and it's the A-pinene, which is 55%. What does that mean? So let's look at some science. So monoterpene on the A-pinene, what that is, it inhibits the accumulation of toxins and help discharge existing toxins. It's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, it's soothing to irritated tissues, it's an insect repeller or repellent, and it can be cancer preventative. It has cancer preventative properties and cellular protection. Okay, it's very helpful to protect the cells. Now, that's what the monoterpenes, now it's 55% of that. Now, we do have essential oils that have a higher amount of that, monoterpenes, and there's different types of monoterpenes. So it's like things like monoterpenes, alcohols, limonene, sesquiterpenes. I mean, there's ketones, there's all these different components that make up essential oils. And so people will ask, well, what oil should I use? And it's like, well, you have to look at what it is that is the problem. So if we want to protect, if we want something that's anti-inflammatory, okay, we're going to look at all the essential oils that are anti-inflammatory. We're going to look, there's a complete list you can get. I mean, we can Google search this, right? Or we have books, we have tools, and then you're going to look for the ones that have the highest amount of the monoterpenes for that anti-inflammation. So that's where you start looking at the differences, and then you decide which one you like, because if you don't like it, what'll happen is you won't use it, right? Because you don't like the smell. But if you like it, you'll use it. And then you can think about blending some of those oils together, especially the ones, if you like 2 or 3 of them that you really like, and they're a high anti-inflammatory, then put them together in a roller bottle. That's fine. You can do that. However, I will say that when you start blending on your own, it's okay to do that if you can find a blend specifically formulated by science for whatever the issue is, whether that's memory or women's blend or whatever it's for, hormonal, whatever. If you can get one already blended that is scientifically done, you're going to be better off, because every essential oil has its own signature, right? That signature is what harmonizes with our body. I know that sounds kooky too, but we really do. If you've ever heard of Symphony of Cells, look it up, because it's great. Symphony of Cells is just another aspect of the essential oils. So when you are blending them in your own, you can get a different signature. And what I mean by this is, so when you layer an essential oil, do one at a time, then you'll get the full 100% benefit of that essential oil. So what I tell everybody is, I look at, when I blend them myself, if I choose 1, 2, 3, and I put it in that order, 1, 2, 3. Now, if I changed the order and put in 3, 2, 1, on a graph, scientifically, it'll look different, because they interact with each other on how we put them together. I know that's really strange, but I've actually seen that, and I've actually seen, and Dr. Hill, our chief, well, he was our chief medical advisor. We have somebody else in place there now. But he had shown us this, and it was like, wow, that's amazing, because you wouldn't think, because most of us think, oh, you just put water with something and you get that flavor or whatever, you know, but this is a chemical kind of reaction to each other when you put essential oils together in a bottle on your own. So just saying, if you can find one already blended, better it will be for you. Okay, so we talked about the monoterpenes, and we know that it's 55% for Cypress. Now the other thing, what will Cypress help with? Oh my gosh, endless almost. So if you ever know anybody that has restless leg, Cypress is really good for that. Rub on the legs. Use fractionated coconut oil. So when we are wanting to spread a certain area or a wide area, we use a carrier oil. We like fractionated coconut oil, but you can use other oils. There are many others on the market out there. We like fractionated coconut oil because it's clear liquid, not the solid, and there is no fragrance to it. So if I want the aromatics of my essential oil, I definitely want to use a carrier oil with that. Now, and it has small molecules, so it soaks into the skin really quickly. And that's another reason for, since we're on restless leg, that's for Aroma Touch. This is a blend created with Cypress. Cypress is the #1 oil in it, for pore circulation. So if you know anybody that is like diabetic or have a lot of neuropathy going on, Cypress or the Aroma Touch is a really good option for someone to utilize. But it's not something where you just put it on and go. You really have to massage it into the legs and the feet. And you want to do this for 10 to 20 minutes, okay? Now, if you have neuropathy, or if you have diabetics, or if you're diabetic, you kind of know what I'm talking about, where if you start doing massage into certain areas, you will actually feel little like, to me, they feel like little pieces of rock salt right underneath the skin. Those are what you're trying to get rid of. And they lay in between the layers of the muscles. And so that's why when you're massaging, you want to get in there and look and feel for those things. And that's what you're trying to break up. And if you've ever felt them, I mean, you'll feel them if you ever do that. So when you're massaging the legs and the feet for those problems, do it consistently for a while. And you want to do this consistently too, like not just once a day. When I hear someone say, well, they never worked for me, it's like, well, how often did you use it? Because that's usually the biggest problem. We don't use it often enough because we think that it should be that little blue pill and it should work overnight. It does not. It didn't get there. It didn't get this way overnight. It crept up on you. So you've got to really work backwards. You got to really get on top of it and keep up with it in order for it to really work for you. Another thing is we also like anemia. It's really good for that. Now, do you know anybody that's incontinent or wet the bed a lot? Then we can rub Cypress over our bladder or the reflex point. So if you've never looked at a reflex point, so our hands or feet, you don't want to put it right directly on your bladder, you can go to reflex points. Varicose veins, you can just rub over the area that is the problem. Cellulite, so you know anybody that has cellulitis, that's a big one. But you can also apply the Cypress with eucalyptus together. And you use a warm or hot compress if you have cellulitis. That helps in breaking it up and releasing that. What about respiratory? Like whooping cough. You can just place it over the lungs. Aroma Touch is really good for that. Another one could be a product blend called Breathe through doTERRA. That's amazing what that product does. What about, let's see, prostate, pancreas, and ovary issues? So our reproductive organ. You can massage over the area concerned or the corresponding reflex point again. So if you have not seen a reflex point or a reflex chart, would have you look at that. Okay, liver and gallbladder. You can apply over the liver or the reflex point on the foot for your liver. So it's really good for that cellular response and helping get rid of toxins, right? So we talked about that already. So if we're doing that, so this is why it's very helpful for the liver. So last week we talked about the liver and for those that are missing their gallbladder, because your liver starts working overtime. And so it has a harder time with getting rid of toxins. So it's kind of like that oil filter in your car. If you never ever change it, never ever change your oil, your car does not work in the optimal that it should. It doesn't work the best. It'll still keep running, but it doesn't work the best. So we want to really help in getting rid of the toxins out of our liver and let it so that it can actually function the way it's supposed to. It's also good for heavy periods. So if we are in menstrual and we have that really heavy menstrual cycles, you can just massage it over the abdomen. Endometriosis, fibroids, that's another one that's really good for it, because Cypress is good for that. And of course, inhaling it can be very energetic and very calming. There again, when it comes to essential oils, just because the oil is meant for calming doesn't mean that you're going to be the one that's going to calm. You might be the opposite end of the scale. So if you've ever heard of people using a medication, like we'll take Vicodin, for instance, some people will be very hyper, and then other people will be very lethargic. So you have to know what end of the scale you are. Because it doesn't always work the way we think, because that's that chemistry thing again, right? Everybody's different. So we know it's really good to help us in our emotions. And speaking of emotions, let me read you what the emotional side of Cypress is. So Cypress is on the emotions of that motion and flow. So we're letting everything kind of let go. So it's a powerful oil that creates energetic flow and emotional catharsis. Its stagnant energies are brought into motion through the fluid energy. Cypress works in the heart and the mind. And so it's creating that flexibility. Cypress is teaching the soul how to let go of the past by moving with the flow of life. This oil is especially indicated for individuals who are mentally or emotionally stuck. You know, and there's a lot of us like that, right? We get stuck with emotions that from the past, and we may think that we've gotten over something until we smell an essential oil or something comes up, and it triggers that emotional response for back when in that time period. So when we're thinking about emotional tranquility, Cypress can be one of those to help us get out of that funk. It helps us from our fear, and then helping us let go of the need of control. Because sometimes, you know, there's those people that just feel they have to be in control of everything. And if they don't, then they feel like that's just, they're not winning, right? Instead of letting life just flow through, they're actually forcing things to happen. So Cypress is that oil that's going to help us let go. So on the negative side of Cypress, what it helps with is those emotions that are controlling, fearful, perfectionistic, rigid, stuck, or tense. So what it's helping us, so the opposite of those is the flexibility, trusting, flowing with life, the adaptability of being able to let go of our past. And so, and again, this is an oil that when you apply it to your spine, which some of us can't reach our spine, but some of us can. So you can just put Cypress in a roller, in a bottle with a roller top, and put fractionated coconut oil in there and roll it on the lower part of your spine, or even on the back of your neck, because that's part of your spine as well. Now you can blend it with some other oils. There are some companion oils that go with Cypress. Those companion oils are wintergreen, cilantro, thyme, and we've already talked about Aroma Touch. So even that one can be put in a roller. And so those oils can be very beneficial to put together for that emotional flow and letting that past go away. So now, that's a lot of things, right? We know that Cypress is, the method of extraction is steam distillation. There's so much more that this essential oil could do for you. And even if it's for the heart, if you've got, like, if you had someone's had a stroke, you could actually put it over the heart and apply it over the heart. And by the way, our heart's not right here, it's over here towards the middle. Like a lot of people think it's like right over here, but no, it's in the middle. I encourage you to look to find what these oils really are all about, because it is so amazing what they can do for us. Now, Cypress in itself is only used topically or aromatically. You cannot use this essential oil internally. I highly suggest you don't. And when doTERRA, or if you have any essential oil that says you can take it internally, it means that it has met the GRAS standard through the FDA. In other words, it's generally regarded as safe for consumption, okay? There are certain standards in order for them to meet that GRAS standard. So I encourage you to take a look at what essential oils really are all about, because there's so many benefits to essential oils, and I don't know where I'd be today without essential oils, because even last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have a dog that is like wanting to barf. Of course, that woke me up. And I have little dogs, and so I like, okay, did you, or so we deal with that, and I'm like, I have something I can reach for. So I immediately come into the kitchen and I pick up an essential oil called Digest Zen, and I put a little on his tummy, and I still have some on my finger, and he licked my finger. And he actually got to smell it before he licked my finger. Well, he got it all 3 ways. Topically, he got it enters into the bloodstream. He smelled it, which can have that benefit as well. And then he licked my finger, which is not a lot, but it's enough for him because he's only about maybe 8 pounds. And so I have something I can reach for instead of going, oh, what did you get into? And then not be able to deal with that. I like having something at my disposal for things that you are not prepared for. I love that I can be prepared for something. You never know when you're going to have to use it, and I've used essential oils on everything. I have my chickens, I have my horses, I have the cows, I have everything. And so, yes, they're safe enough to be able to use on all of that, on all of us, including our pets and including your cats. But there are certain things, no matter what you look at, please, again, know that it's a trusted source, because there are many essential oils out there that, even though they say 100% pure, they contain contaminants that are harmful to your cats and your dogs, so all your pets. So even if you're diffusing in your home, if it says you cannot use it topically, and it's only aromatically, only what else is in that. I really want you to do your research and find out, because you don't want to harm your animals if you have them in your home. You don't want to find out after the fact that you've harmed your animals. And there's many commercials that I see that I just cringe every time, because like Febreze, bad thing. It's all chemical based. And if you are putting that, not only is it harmful, can be harmful to you guys, it's totally harmful to your pets. So please be careful about what you put in your carpet for air freshener to make it smell good, or if you've got a plug-in, just make sure that you are very mindful of what it is that you're putting in the air. That's important. So that kind of wraps this up for the day. And I hope that you get benefit out of this. And for those of you that are watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. And for those of you that are watching this, maybe someone sent this to you, you can always reach out to me and ask questions, and ask if you want any of these products in your home, then talk to the person that shared the video with you and let them help you get the best price to get these in your home. So it's amazing what these products can do for us. And there's not a day I don't leave home without them. And every time I ever have is when I wish I had them, because I always meet someone that could benefit from what I have, whether that's a simple cough, whether that is a cut or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like, where's my oils? Oh, they're not here. And it's like, that's my go-to. That is my medicine cabinet anymore. And for me, that's a very important part, because I can help stop the bleeding with essential oils. I can help someone's cough with essential oils. I mean, there's just so many benefits, you know, or sunburn, whatever it is, I've got something for it. So I encourage you to find out more. I encourage you to find what you can have to be prepared, and be ready for things that you're not really thinking about, and know that there's something natural and safe that you can use for you and your family. So we will see you next week, and who knows what we'll talk about next week. You never know, so join in. Bye, everybody. Thanks.